So, we're going to start with the Odell Beckham Jr. scandal, which actually does involve Amy Schumer in
Oh,
some
yeah,
form.
buddy.
So, it's kind of mild in terms of all the Lena Dunham controversies, so which is saying something. So in 2016, Odell Beckham Jr., the beautiful man he is, and the American football player, turns up to the Met Gala
The two different
because
people.
um Lena Dunham and Amy Schumer also go. They're there.
Because they were invited, apparently.
Yeah, they
But
were invited, but then like I get it. I personally don't really like the Met Gala, but it is cool to see what everyone's wearing. But they were
yeah,
invited, and then afterwards, we're just kind of like, it was the worst thing ever. Meh, 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 meh.
yeah,
And
whinged
like,
about it.
I get it, but like, you knew it was gonna be like that. So either don't go or be grateful. Like, there's so many people
Yeah,
who would love to go to that,
yeah.
and you got to go and then just complained. So either don't go or just don't complain. Anyway, so they all turn up. Lena turns up in a suit and I think thought it was a lot more innovative than it was. I think she thought she was the first woman to wear a suit. Um, it was just a suit. Like it was okay. I don't think it fit the theme, but it was all right. Um, but then following this, Lena and Amy do a Q&A together. And, like Lena is asking Amy Schumer questions. And I'm just going to read you exactly what Lena says about Odell Beckham Jr. So she says, I was sitting next to Odell Beckham Jr. and it was so amazing because it was like he looked at me and he determined I was not the shape of a woman by his standards. He was like, that's a marshmallow, that's a child, that's a dog. It wasn't mean, he just
That's
seemed
a
confused. The vibe was, I will remind you, she was just wearing a suit. She seems to think that she was some sort of wearing something like a potato sack and looked horrendous. She looked fine. The vibe was very much like, do I want to fuck it? Is it wearing a, yep, it's wearing a tuxedo. I'm going to go back to my cell phone. It was like we were forced to be together and he literally was scrolling Instagram rather than have to look at a woman in a bow tie. I was like, this should be called the Metropolitan Museum of Getting Rejected by Athletes. Um, so yeah, everyone was
what?
like, "I think you've overthought this, hun." Um, and then I'll read you the apology because I think it says everything that she did wrong, and then I'll unpack. So she apologized by saying, "Despite my moments of bravado, I struggle at industry events and in life with the sense that I don't represent a certain standard of beauty, and so when I show up to the Met Ball surrounded by models and swan-like actresses, it's hard not to feel like a sack of flaming garbage." Which, like, okay, pity party, all right.
Yeah.
Um, this felt especially intense with a handsome athlete as my dinner companion. And then she added, most importantly, I would never intentionally contribute to a long and often violent history of the over sexualization of black male bodies, as well as false accusations by white women towards black men. Which
Um,
that's exactly what she did though, because like
yeah,
what like I've thought about this so much, I don't know what she thought the outcome of her saying like her original statement would be. Like what did she
yeah,
think would be the outcome? Or that because for me, when you say something like that and you have her platform, you know people are going to read it and have thoughts.
yeah.
So she could have had, like, he did nothing. He literally was not present in
Didn't
this.
engage. It was, and
Didn't
he's
engage.
fine. He does.
Didn't
He
look.
doesn't owe her anything.
No, he
Why does
doesn't.
she?
They're
I don't.
strangers. For all she knows, he
Yeah,
might be shy. Like, he might just not want,
yeah,
like, if you threw me next to a bunch of strangers at a table, I'd probably be a bit like, what? What am I meant to say to them?
yeah,
So, but like, what did she think? She knew she had this platform, and like, he could have been fully cancelled for that. Like,
yeah,
she didn't know that wasn't going to happen. People could have read into that and been like, how horrible. He hates like women. But that's not the case. He just didn't do anything. Like, he literally did
yeah.
nothing, and she spun that out of control, and that could have affected his career.
Absolutely, because especially it is. There's. I can just pick. You can picture it, can't you? They're sitting at a round table with like weird gold chairs,
Yep.
and she's been sat next to him. She's sitting there with her arms crossed over her tuxedo, staring
Yeah,
at him, waiting for him to make a comment about it. That's what this
literally.
is. This is what I imagine happened. And then to get Amy Schumer on as a promo for her now defunct, it was like a newsletter or something. It was called the
Oh,
Lenny
the Lenny
something.
letter. It will
Lenny
come up
letter.
again. Don't worry. It's horrendous.
It's garbage.
So
But
bad.
so then to sit down and be like that, you have a shared experience. You could talk about how beautiful, like
Yeah.
just. have a positive outlook on it, not sit there and defame a man you were sitting beside because you thought that he was looking at you like a dog
I
or a
know.
marshmallow and that he didn't want to have sex with you. What did you think? That just shows you it's like, what is it? Your first thought is the socially conditioned thought, but it's how you react to that first thought is
Yeah.
how you unpack it. So obviously
Yeah.
her whole thinking is that's how she moves through the world.
Yeah.
And then she had to be told afterwards,
Yeah.
don't contribute to the over sexualization of black men by white women, which is like the
Yeah.
bedrock of racism in
Mhm.
America. That's she didn't come to that realization herself, or she wouldn't
No.
have sat down, had the interview with Amy Schumer. She wouldn't
Yeah.
have written it out. She wouldn't have given the go ahead for it to be
Mhm.
released. She wouldn't have released it. There are so many steps that she could have taken, just
Exactly.
not put that out in the world. So
Yeah.